Hello, this is Anna Diffin, and this is a Let's Play of Endless Space Disharmony, a game by Amplitude Studios. As the name implies, the game is set in space, and it's a turn-based 4X strategy game, where you expand by colonising new systems and building up huge fleets to wipe out your enemies. So, let's just create a new game, and select the empire we wish to play. To start with, there is the United Empire, an empire whose affinity allows them to get additional production at higher tax rates. Unfortunately, I do not find this particularly useful, as a higher tax rate makes your population very unhappy. Sophons, similar to the United Empire, in that their affinity is based on their tax rate, but on a low tax rate they gain a scientific boost. This is very powerful, as it allows them to quickly out-tech their opponents and build up more advanced fleets than their enemies. Hisho are a steamrolling race, so the more battles they win, the stronger they get, so for quite a few turns in fact, which allows them to quickly annihilate an opponent and move on to the next as quickly as possible. Amoeba are a highly diplomatic race. Their affinity allows them to see the entire galaxy at once, which is highly useful as it allows you to see where your enemies are, or in their case their allies are, so that they can meet with them and start diplomatic relations as soon as possible. Automatons are a little bit odd with their affinity. They gain interest on overproduction, that is, production which is when their production is too high for producing something, rather than being lost, it is put into a bank, which then gains interest over time. To start with, this is quite weak, but during the later stages of the game you can improve this, and in effect it means that they can gain almost double production on each of their systems. Shereydn are my favourite. They have two very nice bonuses here. They can prevent enemies from retreating, allowing you to crush much smaller fleets and prevent them from harassing you. And also they have a bonus to buyout. Buyout being using the resource dust to instantly purchase improvements and fleets. They also have a very nice research, faction-specific research, which gives them a colossal boost to dust at the expense of a little bit of happiness for 5 turns. Which in fact is not very long. Cravers are a rapid early rushing race. They get a massive bonus to production to start with for their first few turns. However, they then overconsume their planet and have a reduction of production. This early bonus though allows them to expand very quickly and in fact be very warlike, and in fact their default trait is a turn of war where they cannot be diplomatic. Ratio are another race which have quite good expansion possibilities, but these people generally is because they have a lot of population, faction-specific researchers. Their actual affinity allows them to duplicate a hero, a very useful feature as it allows them to duplicate some of the more powerful military or economic heroes once they have reached the higher levels, rather than having to train up new ones. Sowers are an interesting trait. They in fact do not need as much food. They produce less food, but part of their industry is then converted back into food, so they are a sort of cybernetic race. I'm not a big fan because they're a little bit slow to start with because of this fact. Later on though, they can be very effective with the amount of food production they can be producing. Pilgrims are a very interesting affinity. They allow them to evacuate an entire system, which is very, very effective because they can pick up their home system and then move it to a new system. This allows for very powerful new colonies to be created, and if you're able to get an admin hero on one system, they can rapidly produce new population using their hero traits, and then basically just spam out huge colony ships, because the evacuation costs the same to produce as just a single population colony ship. Harmony are a very odd affinity. They do not produce dust. That is the resource which is used for upkeep of improvements and fleet ships, and also for heroes, and also for buying out instantly new ships or improvements themselves. This means they do not need to worry about the size of their fleet or number of improvements, so they can really spare out hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of ships. But they cannot upgrade them, and they cannot get heroes. This I do not like, as I really like the heroes. The flip side is Harmony have some of the best ship upgrades available. They have a huge bonus to the number of modules they can fit on each ship. But I'm not going to go with any of these normal ones. I am going to create a new faction based on the Shereydn. I'm going to remove all of those, and this army is going to be primarily, it's going to be called the Dust Armada, and they are going to be an extremely economic race. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and turtle up with them, get a huge economy, and then spam out as many ships as possible wherever needed to crush my foes. To this end, I need an economic trait, which is Businessman, to give me a huge bonus to the amount of dust I get across my empire. The next, I need an improvement to my fleet, Optimal Structure. This allows me to fit a lot more modules on each ship by 30%, a huge bonus which will allow me to get much stronger fleets. The next is Science. I'm going to get a full scientific complement, which will allow me to out-tech basically everyone apart from the Sophons. More technology means more upgrades, better ships, which will allow me to win. Trying to win against a more technologically advanced opponent is really hard. Unfortunately, as you can see, I have run out of faction points. The first ones I always go for then are Dust Impaired. I generally do not like to use abilities on the hero in combat, as I prefer more the passive bonuses on my heroes, and the repair modules which are just a standard research. The next is Sloppy Sawbones, which massively increases the cost of healing the hero when they get killed in combat or when a system is invaded. This I do not mind taking, because if I lose heroes, I'm generally at a worse problem, because as I said, I've either lost a fleet or a system. But I am still over points. The next one I'm going to go for then is Eternal War. I'm not going to be diplomatic, I'm just going to kill everyone. This does make it a little bit difficult, and you do have to ensure that your army can take this. The next is... shall I find it? Not Amicus. Feeble Warriors. This does make me a little bit weaker on defences, but all systems are still possible to defend the system for a minimum of 4 or 5 turns, no matter the size of the invading fleet, unless it's an invasion fleet, which are instantaneous anyway. So this is basically 5 points completely free. I've still got a few points left. I don't need any initial technologies. Space battles, these are quite nice, but not required. I'm missing some things here. Science... hero. Because I'm going to be preparing high difficulty, I need good combat heroes, of which the pilot is probably the best. Oh, yes, I believe they are by far the best hero available. I still have some points. I have Businessman, which is good, Optimal Structure, Scientist, Headhunter. I know, population. Optimistic. This is the one that's missing. Optimistic allows me to colonize systems with big negatives, things like lava worlds, which are, well, people don't like living on them. By being optimistic, that makes them a lot happier and basically allows me to tax them more and get more money. Finally though, because I am now over the limit, I'm going to take anarchists. This is a very dangerous trait to go for, as it does mean you have a smaller fleet than everyone else. The flip side to this though is that a late research for the Shereydn allows them to build dreadnoughts at 3 command points rather than 4 for the other armies. So for late game this has a minor effect because they can have a larger fleet of dreadnoughts than other races anyway. Initially though it is dangerous and you have to ensure your technology and researchers allow you to defend yourself early game, which is hence why I go for the pilot. So this is the army I'm going to go for, and this is the game. So I'm going to go for a disc, which allows for very early aggression from the enemy. In fact, I quite often see a war within the first 20 turns or so, and I refer to this as the 20-turn war. If you're playing on like the spiral ones, where you each have your own spiral arm, it's normally a little bit longer. The first war's around about turn 30-40. I'm going to play with the most number of opponents. A large system, because I find that huge is a little bit too big. That makes things just a little bit long-winded. I'm going to play completely random factions, and I'm going to play on the absolute hardest difficulty I can, and the game on fast to make things go a little bit quicker. I have all victory conditions on. No pirates, because I find that pirates are generally just more irritating than an actual game changer, because they just generally kill all your colony ships, and they do a little bit, but as I said, they're more an annoyance than an actual game changer. So, we should start the game. Eventually, while it is loading. So, this is the main game screen, and we'll go into this more next time.